We have a leadership position in the development, manufacture and supply of closures, stopper corks, capsules, all those fiddly things that you can't get off your bottle quick enough to enjoy the product within. Rankin supports the beers, wines and spirit sectors with hopefully best-in-class products to help seal and protect and add value to your brand. Our family owns and manages over 4,500 acres of cork forestry out in Portugal, and we have manufacturing in Portugal and in the UK. So again, as I said, we're a family-owned and managed business. I am part of that sixth generation. I have a cousin of mine who manages our business interests and the farms, looks after the farms in Portugal, and I look after things here in the UK. My day-to-day job is as commercial director, and I head up the sales and marketing and commercial teams, as well as the technical teams. So what's our mission in life? Well, our mission is to develop and manufacture and supply the most optimal closures, and in the case of what we do for the brewing industry, the most optimal shives and keystones, designed really to provide a liquid-proof seal to ensure that the quality of the beer delivered to your customers remains exactly the same as you intended back at the brewery. As an independent and family-owned business, we go to great lengths to support our customers with premium products and high-quality service. Investing heavily in research and innovation, our most recent acquisition has been of long-standing partner Plasmatech Limited. And Plasmatech are a manufacturing business, a plastic molder of plastic parts. And this has enabled us to offer our customers more choice and security in the supply chain, while supporting our ambitious strategy on sustainability. And we've got some exciting news to deliver soon with regard to a more sustainable product line. So, what's our menu of choice with regard to shives? Our most popular shive currently is the two-piece banded shive. We started with wooden shives before plastics came along. Wood was the product of choice. It's still there is demand for wooden shives, albeit at a fairly low level. Wood, the positives with regard to woodwork, it's that it's a natural material, and it's very forgiving of cask shive hole variations. So and certainly wear and tear. So any nicks or dents or inclusions that you might have in the bushel or the hole, shive hole, a wooden shive, because it's compressed during manufacture, has this ability to be able to swell up. So as soon as it has contact with humidity or liquid, it swells, it fills itself up, as it were, and it provides a most efficacious kind of seal for the cask. The negatives is that it's a natural material. We get dimensional variation, although we like to work to a tolerance of plus or minus 1 millimeter. There is still variation. Sometimes they can be oval, and they've got the potential to swell up on pickup of moisture. So they're quite difficult to store. And a brewery is a wet environment, and the cask racking area particularly wet. So if you stick a bag of wooden shives and indeed keystones in that area, they have beer spilled. They can sort of pick up mold growth, and they can go out of shape. So it's fantastic natural material, but it does have its downsides. Contamination, pickup of mold and contamination is one of those problems. Another area of concern is that it can split as a material. It's not as robust and homogeneous as let's say, a plastic molding. And particularly when you try to remove a wooden shive, when you get that cast back from trade or hospitality, when you try and remove the wooden shive, it can splinter and break, and you end up sort of trying to fish out bits of woodwork from the cask, which can be tricky. So if we look at our most popular shive, which is the two-piece banded shive, it's a plastic molded product. We have two different materials that we're using. We're using a slightly firmer material to support the body of the shive, to make it robust and to make it being able to withstand being a percussive closure. So it can take a few knocks on the head without any material deformation or damage or splitting. And then we have the slightly softer material, a SEPS material, that is used in the manufacture of the band. And this band behaves similarly to wood in so much as it picks up or is able to live with that cask hole variation in terms of diameter, and it's able to sort of overcome any challenges that we might have, certainly with minor inclusions, dinks or dents. So ultimately, it's a good workhorse. It's a good product. It can factor in sort of variations in cask holes and dimensions. But we have a range of banded shives, and I'll talk more about the range and how we match up to the particular cask or manufacturer of casks that you're using. I'll talk more about that later on. The negatives of the banded shive is that that it's a two-part product, so two materials are used. Again, as I hinted at before, we're looking at ways in which we can reduce it down to one material and still get the same performance and properties. And we've got some exciting news to deliver very soon with regard to more sustainable materials. So if I go on to our keystones, very much the two same material choices, more traditional, and where we started was with the wooden keystone. These are made of either lime wood or birch. Again, the positives being that it's a natural material. That in itself is forgiving of variation in keystone hole dimensions because it swells on contact with the liquid. Like the wooden shive, there is a concern on dimensional variation because again it is pressed towards the tail of the keystone. It's pressed from two opposing sides, so there is slight ovality there. It's got the potential for mold pickup and product contamination, particularly in wet areas. And again, prior to use in a wet area, they have the potential of going out of shape. And lastly, rather like the concerns shared with you with regard to wooden shives, there is a concern that on removal, when you're trying to remove the keystone from the returned cask, you can end up with splinters, breaks, and pieces of wood in the cask. So if I now look at the thermoplastic keystone, we have done an awful lot of work, as we've done in the development of the shive, but we've done an awful lot of work on the keystone. In terms of developing the right choice of materials, getting the size right, and where we're at with the keystone is that for a number of years now, we've kind of crystallized the specification. We've got really, really good performance from the materials that we use. If anything goes or blows out of the cask, particularly if the cask is held or stored in a warm environment on the back of a wagon in the height of summer in the middle of the high street, the stainless steel cask is a heat sink, and if you've got a particularly lively beer, the ambient temperature could or high elevated temperatures could make it more lively, or conditions within the cask more lively still, and the pressure builds up, and the first thing that's going to blow is going to be the keystone. It'll take a lot to blow the shive. So in our development of the thermoplastic keystone, we were keen to replicate as best as we could worst case scenario conditions. So we conduct on a batch by batch basis now, we conduct pretty stringent blowout testing to ensure that the keystone is fit for function, fit for purpose, and will be able to withstand certainly an increase, a significant increase in temperature, and will be able to withstand and hold its position within the cask against the background of a pretty lively beer that may or may not be fermenting or continuing to ferment. So it's a good workhorse. We consistently get a blowout performance of greater than about 75 psi compared to, and we do benchmark testing compared to some of our competitors whose keystones blow at about 30 to 50 psi. So again, it's tried, tested, and hopefully trusted by you. Our thermoplastic Keystone K2 is perhaps our most popular. It's used for hot fill and cold fill. Hot fill being for hot casks that roll straight out of the cask washer. The stainless steel is at a high temperature. You're able to put our thermoplastic Keystone K2 into that cask. You're able to fill it with beer, and there's no thermal shock to the keystone. It won't blow. And again, in comparative tests with other keystones from other sources, we've found that they do blow. The negatives are, or can be, that it's unforgiving of variation in keystone hole dimensions. And as I said, we do the testing, so we're assured that we've got good performance, efficacious performance at high elevated temperatures. So let me go on to my next slide. I think my screen has just frozen, so bear with me. Here we go. Oh, apologies. Oh, now it's jumped. So, if you're still there, apologies for the silence. My screen froze. So, as I was saying before, we have a number of different shive variants, and we've set up a matrix like this to really support the offer, to give you choice according to the casks and the manufacturer's mark of casks that you might be using. So just very quickly, again, we've set up this matrix to give you a guide on the most optimal choice of keystone and shive. So with the brewery plastics or Cyphico that used to be cask, we've developed more recently over the last couple of years our A and B band shive. Apologies, we've got to have two variants because that we know that there are brewery plastic casks out in the trade that may or may not have ribs in the bushel, and the A is for the smaller of the holes, the B is for the slightly larger of the holes. But what we do is we send samples to each of our customers for them to try prior to, and it's really up to you guys to trial these shive variants to decide which one will work best for you. So for the brewery plastic and the plastic cask, we've got a choice of either A, which is the smallest, or B, slightly larger. With regard to the keystone, we recommend our K1. Don't use wood. If you try getting a wooden keystone, you try banging that into the plastic shive, it'll just bounce up all over the place. So use our K1, and that's the most optimal keystone. With most of the stainless steel casks, whether it's NDL or cast from NDL, Hereford, Camac, or Portanox, the most popular banded shive is the C band, although there are occasions where customers are using the D band for slightly more worn casks, casks that have been around the block a few times, more like 50p pieces rather than 10p bits. But the C band is by far and away the most popular, and either from us or from the distributors, always make sure that you have that choice available to you. With Emerald Polymers, I know that they've got a cask that takes a non-percussive closure, which is a screw closure. So we can't support you with a shive for that, but we can support you with a K1 thermoplastic keystone. With Sovereign or SBC stainless steel cask, C band is standard, but D band for some of the more proprietary designed and manufactured casks that they've sent out to the market. By far and away, the most popular and best performing keystone for all of the stainless steel casks is the K2. As I said before, the K2 is a robust keystone that works really well for hot fill casks, but equally performs well for cold fill. So, as I hinted at before, every one of our manufactured batches of keystones, before it goes out to trade, we test them, we pressure test them, and it's our job to try and blow them out of the cask. When they do go, they go off like a rocket and with an awful bang. So whatever we do during the development phase, and indeed during ongoing manufacture, is to make sure that we're supporting you with hopefully what will be the best and the most efficacious shives and keystones. So if I look at Rankins can support the brewery and the cask racking, kegging, and bottling lines with crown caps. We support brewers from a point of sale perspective with bar towels, and with all those cask sundry items like taps and hammers and spars. A lot of these items, particularly the cask sundry items, the spars and the taps and the hammers, and certainly the shives and the keystones, are available from stock. Bar towels are kind of made to order, made to any particular or bespoke design that you have in mind. So you're supported, obviously, by us and the sales and the commercial teams here at Rankins in Long Crendon. We have a number of territory-based commercial ops. We've got Alan Burns that looks after our customers in the north, in Scotland and Ireland, and Andy Cox, who joined us in January, looks after customers in north and central England. But at all times, we're supported also by a fantastic network of distributors for our products, and by our partners, Charles Farham and Murphy's as well. But our shives our shives and keystones are available through Charles Farham and Murphy's. So that's me. That's the end of the presentation.